Welcome everyone. This is Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about the difference between perspection and perspective. This is going to be almost akin to what we were talking about last week when we had the idea of adversity, right? Some people might think that adversity is necessary, while some people might think adversity is not necessary. If we think of maybe families that do really well for themselves in adversity. You could have a big house, a lot of cars, right? You're rich and you're famous. And you might say, I'm going to give my kids this too. And the kids grow up with this mentality, and we can look at the correlation to that too. Why are so many kids that grow up in these wealthy households and families also doing good in life? They succeed, they win. What's going on? And for that, it's not so much adversity anymore, because they might be on easy road and they might have struggles and challenges along the way. But for most people, they have to go through that adversity, as we talked about last week. For the people who don't, now we are in a different lens now. We have to figure out, are we looking at our world through our perception or our perspective? Sometimes we might think, I don't know why people do this. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would someone drink and drive? Why would someone smoke? Why would someone gamble? Why would someone do drugs, right? Like, we can go on and on and on of all the things we don't know why someone would do, because our perception or our perspective is different. Now, we can look at what society and what the norms are, and then again, that could be our perception. But just because that is what we see, it doesn't necessarily make it what is right. What we're going to be talking about today is going to be the difference between perspective and perception. And in order to do that, we have to check out my most recent blog. All right, everyone, if you're new to the podcast, new to the channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and to share the video and or audio to help build a community of like-minded individuals who want more in their life. And today we're going to be talking about perception and perspective. There are going to be some things that we need to know about perspective and perception. I'm going to take this right from the article. Perception is going to be looking at the immediate instinctive influence by our senses, is often shaped by societal norms and personal biases. Perspective, on the other hand, is more complex and deeply rooted. Our upbringing, our culture, education, and life experience are going to shape it. This viewpoint, again, is going to be helping us understand the distinction between perception and perspective, because I can put a picture in front of you right now. In that picture, you might see all of the different things, but I can't control how that picture makes you feel, because I might have a picture of maybe a mother who's crying, holding her baby. What does that mean, right? The perception is we see a mom who's holding and crying her baby. Now, perspective. Maybe you are a single mom. Maybe you had to go through those moments where you had to say, I don't know how I'm going to get through. So this perspective is, you see a mother who's struggling versus someone else might see a mother who, is loving and caring for her child. Maybe, she's going through hard times because she's crying. Maybe she's happy because she has a child, right? Perspective, right? They can be, again, whatever is going on in your mind, your senses, your upbringing, your culture. It doesn't even have to be a photo. How about food? You might see food as, oh, that food looks nasty, right? Some people don't like certain types of food. It could be gumbo, seafood, whatever. Your perception is that this food is nasty. But perception is, I grew up on this food. For me, this food means home. Perspective. So depending on what's going on, how our mind is triggering, we have to look at both. But what I will say is your perspective is going to give you that, I guess you could say, that special sauce that's going to make you unique. And today we're going to be talking about the special sauce. But before we get into that special sauce stuff, story time. Now, I have talked about this story before, and it's such a good story that I'm going to say it again. And I can even also give many other examples to other stories that you can understand perception, and perspective. Now, the story begins with there was a husband and a mother. They had 2 boys. The father was the sole provider. He would go to work, come home, and the wife would stay at home with the kids, take care of the house, right? Traditional family. The father, though, had I guess you could say, a crutch, or he had a bad thing going on. He was an alcoholic. And when he drank, he became very angry. And he would hit his wife, he would hit his boys. And that was something that the boys didn't like, and the wife didn't like, of course, right? But that was the perception of that household. What we see, right? Because we see into that household, we see a father who's alcoholic. We see a father who is abusive to the child and the mother or the wife. This is something we can easily see, right? This is a broken household. But let's fast forward now. What did that household create? The boys, right? 2 boys with 2 different mindsets now, because both boys were interviewed. One of the boys followed exactly in his father's footsteps. He got married, got a job in typical 9 to 5, and became an alcoholic. And he would drink. He would come home, be angry. He would hit his kids and hit his wife. And when asked, why did you turn out this way? The boy responded, because I watched my father. The other boy was also interviewed. But this boy had a very different lifestyle than the brother. He had a job, but this job wasn't just a job. It was a company he created. He was the owner. He was the boss. He also had kids that he loved and loved to spend time with and cared and would pick up and cheer on and go to their sports games. And he had a wife that he loved and cared for and never put a hand on her. He didn't pick up a bottle ever in his life. He didn't want it. And when the interview person asked, like, what is the key to your success? How do you get to this point? The second brother said, I watched my father. So both boys did the same exact thing. Both boys watched the father. The boys saw the good, the boys saw the bad. One just decided to say, hey, this is what a man is. This is what life is. This is what I should do. And one boy said, this is not what I want for myself. I'm going to make some changes. Now, perception is going to be that household, that image that we see. Perspective is going to give our own unique take. Think of it as if you like certain things in life. Maybe you are one of those individuals that love living in the big city. You love the noise. You love the people, the crowds. You love it all. It turns you on. But there are people who have a different perspective. They say this is claustrophobic, this is dirty, this is noisy. But to you is home. To you is safety, is security. What is the trigger? Now, the trigger is going to be what our senses are telling us, because we have our 5 senses, of course. You know what they are. But just because I like something, it doesn't mean that you have to like something. Maybe cinnamon, right? It could be that simple. Cinnamon, right? Cinnamon has a very unique smell to it. But maybe something happened in your life, a bad moment in your life, that when you smell cinnamon, you're reminded of that bad moment. So you don't like cinnamon. But then maybe you had a good moment with cinnamon. Maybe your family is cooking and, Thanksgiving. Cinnamon. You might say, oh, I love cinnamon. What's the difference? Just because, one person had a bad moment with cinnamon and someone had a good moment with cinnamon, does that create a perception or perspective that we need to understand? Yes, because it's going to give us the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, in life, we can always look at what's right in front of us. We can watch the news. We can get our perception of what we should be looking at, and then we get to make our own perspective. However, many people have forgoed that aspect of our own perspective. We find someone who's close to it, maybe, but then at some point, we lose our voice. We lose our identity. And as long as we are going to be giving away what we should be feeling, how are we going to be able to live life according to our standards? Because most people are going to find themselves unhappy and unfulfilled. They're doing something and they're going to hit a dead end road at some point. Not saying that if they're on this road, they're not going to find some semblance of happiness or joy. There's always going to be moments like that. But those are going to be temporary things. You're going to have more hardship than good moments when you do have a choice to get more good moments than bad moments. But don't forget, the bad moments are good also. They help you understand the good moments better. But for someone who's struggling every single moment, similar to what those boys were in that story I just said, one boy is struggling with, alcohol and being in a broken household, and the other one is having a loving family. Not saying that that person who had a loving family didn't have a childhood that was tough, right? That was, that's the aspect of adversity for that child, but he gave himself a perspective to get out of that. In a sense, we get to make a choice every single day. When we wake up, we can say, another day, or we can wake up and we can say, yes, another day. We can go to work and say, I'm so happy I get to go to work. Or we can say, I got to go to work. It can happen at every moment and at everything in our life. We can look at the idea of what something is, and we can look at the feeling it gives us. And if it's not a good feeling, we can actually change it. Let's say you are in a situation that might not be a good situation, right? Maybe you did some bad things and now you have to do community service, right? There are so many examples. I'm just going down this road, so come with me. During that process of you doing this community service, you might say, this is so belittling and so degrading. I have to pick up all this trash on the side of the road. I'm better than that. During those times and in that moment, you can have a revelation, an epiphany, and you can say, I'm better than this. Or you can just go through the process and hate it and not learn your lesson. There is going to be a lesson learned in every hard moment in your life. Some people pay attention, some people do not. And for the people who do not pay attention, they have a tendency to repeat their mistakes or to repeat the situation. We have to do better for ourselves. So we might know what we want. Sometimes we do. Most people actually don't know what they want, which is kind of scary. You might think you know what you want, but when you finally get it, it wasn't what you truly wanted. Maybe you are going out for ice cream with your family, and let's say you order chocolate ice cream. Maybe, someone else in your family orders vanilla, and you take a bite of your chocolate ice cream, you go, oh, it's pretty good, right? But then you take a bite of their vanilla ice cream, you go, oh my God, I should have got this. That can happen in life. We can see, hey, everyone's having ice cream. But the perspective is, this tastes better. This is better. So we're always looking at the aspect of, I'm trying to figure out how I can make things better for me. Because perspective is giving our own flair to it. And typically when we add our own flair to things, it's going to be, hey, this is better, right? Your house. Typically you decorate your house, or you have things in your house that might be different than what other people have, right? Maybe you have a painting of a boat. Why do you have a painting of a boat? I have a painting of an elephant in my house. Why do I have a painting of an elephant in my house? Everyone should have paintings of elephants in their house, right? No one should have a painting of a boat, right? The perception is we all have paintings, but the perspective is, what do I want to have as the aura or the image of what a household means? Maybe that boat means something. Maybe that elephant means something. We don't necessarily know what someone else is thinking, because now they're perceiving. They're trying to figure out something. And this can be even for people. I might see a person who treats someone immorally, and I can say that's a bad person. You know what I do? Because I get a lot of hate because I work with people who would be considered evil, evil people. And I'm sure I'm going to be interviewed one day about this, and they're going to say, Oh, but you're friends with this person. And I'm going to say, yes, I'm friends with that person. They're going to say this person is bad. And I'm going to say, why is this person bad? And they're going to give me a laundry list of perceptions. This person did this person did that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to give them the perspective of, well, we all have the seed for greatness. We all have the seed for evil. Just because a person has moments of bad in their life, it doesn't mean that we have to confine them to those moments. My job as a mindset coach is not to focus on those bad moments in someone's lives. It's to use those moments maybe as stepping stones, learning lessons, whatever you want to call it, and to look for that seed of potential, that seed of greatness. Because we all have the ability to be that good person. It might just be a speck of sand, grain of sand, a drop of water, whatever. That's my job. I'm not there to look at all the bad and say, this is all the bad in a person. I'm there to find all of the good. So people are going to hate me for it. Why are you working with these people who are so evil? And I'm like, they're not evil. They have their own perspectives in life, just as you do. Because we can look at everything from the outside in, or we can begin to look at things from the inside out. I like to understand a person. I like to know their true character. And from there, I get to make my own decisions about a person. Now, of course, there's going to be people that I might not work with, and that's my own personal preference. But the majority of people that come, want, and need help, I will help them along the way. And according to what they are desiring, not my ideals. My coaching is not about, this is my perception, this is my perspective, you need to follow what I think. That is not true. I do not want people to follow what I do in my footsteps. I want you to determine what you need for yourself. I'm going to give you the tools so you can make the best informed decision that's going to give you the best results. Because again, the best results for you might not be the best results for me. You have to decide that for yourself. If you want to look at it in the sense of relationships, we can look at it that way. We have our traditional relationships. We can have our modern relationships. Which one is for you? So if we do look at relationships, then I'm going to have a different perception of relationships. And then my perspective of what other relationships should be is going to be different to me or unique to me. This is not something that, I get to decide and say, hey, if you're not doing a relationship like me, you're doing relationships wrong. If you're not cooking the foods that I'm cooking, you're just cooking wrong. If you're not living life and following career paths like I did, you're doing things wrong. Sometimes, people have had great success doing real estate or, creating a business, but it doesn't mean it's for you. Because just because they're successful in it, it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in it, because you have different passions, different zones of genius, and you have to figure out what works best for you. And this idea of perception and perspective is going to give you a clear path in what you should be looking at, what you should be feeling, and how you should be living. In closing, Perception versus Perspective, Seeing Through Different Lenses is my most recent blog. I encourage everyone to click the link below, read this article, and learn what the difference is. You're going to find that they have some similarities, but just because they're similar, it doesn't mean they're not different. And I want you to learn how to utilize them both, because when you can learn the difference between what perception is and then what your perspective is, you're going to be able to see what you need to see, whether it be from a person, from yourself, or maybe even what's going on in the world. That might be a lot of information for someone to understand, and then it could be a bit confusing. And that is why you always want to invest in yourself. You want to give yourself this idea of walking this path with somebody. Because we can look at our traumas in life similar to the story that I gave with the two boys. One boy healed, one boy just kind of, remained damaged. But that's my perception. Maybe that boy wasn't damaged. Maybe he felt like he was at home. Maybe he felt like he was right. But we can look at the moral compass of the world and say, is this right? Is this wrong? But then all the wars that are happening in our world today, all of the struggles that people are going through, is this morally correct for us to not take care of these people? We can look at that aspect too. But again, we look at the idea of where our mind is. Some people are going to have this perspective of, well, if I can't help somebody, let me help somebody. And someone might say, well, no one helped me, I'm going to help myself. So it just depends on where your mindset is. You get to decide. We get to see the same picture. We get to see the same image. We get to maybe even live in the same moment. And some people might dread it and some people might hate it. One of the best ways I can explain this is here in America, we are privileged to go to school, right? We have to normalize schooling. And just because we have this normalized schooling that is not that great, it is better than nothing, right? Because there's going to be places in the world where boys and girls, they want to learn. They're hungry for education. They want to go to school, but they can't because they don't have those resources in front of them. So they might look at our culture and our life as being so amazing, so great. They want it. And yet we can be in that school, in that classroom, and we can say, I hate this. I don't like the people. I don't like the teacher. It could be a plethora of emotions going on in our mind. But we have two different people, maybe in the same situation or different situations, and they might want to switch the situations. One want to be in school, one doesn't want to be in school. Sometimes we fail to understand what we have because we don't give any attention. Creating mindfulness. We talked about mindfulness many times on the podcast, and I encourage you to explore being more mindful on what is going on in your life, what's going on in your situation, and then ask yourself, do you want to change this? Because if you do want to change your current trajectory, you have to begin now. You can't wait for the right moment. You can't wait until it's, the final countdown or the last quarter. We have to take action now. There's never going to be a right moment, people. You have to say, today is the day. Today is the day I'm going to invest in myself. Today is the day I'm going to get coaching. Today is going to be the day I change my life. Because the moment you get to do that is the moment you get to start to live truly to who you are. Some people think they're going to get there with no action. But if it happens, it might be luck. But we can't base our life on luck. We only get one. We only get one life. So let's base it on our responsibility for change and holding ourselves accountable to doing the things that we know we can do. And that's going to be being great. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I'll see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone take care.